TTB's favorite assault mechs. Well guys, it is December, it's almost Christmas, so as an early Christmas present I finally sat down to think about what are my favorite assault mechs. So let's talk about them. It is a nice and friendly list of only 45 mechs, so I hope you brought some time, I hope you brought some cookies or some chips or whatnot, some coffee, some tea, some beer, your beverage of choice. Let's get started. First up, we start with the Annihilator 2 Alpha, a beautiful, beautiful mech. It's got chainsaws, it's got a nuke on the back for me, and for me, like just UAC 10, UAC 5 build. Very nice, very trusty. You can do lots of other builds, of course. You can combine ultra autocannons with LBXs. You can run Gauss on this. You can run energy weapons a little bit on this. You can run 6 AC2. You can run 3 Rack 2, 3 AC2. So many options. It's just all in all a really, really good mech. Nice hardpoints close to the center. Highly recommended. Next up, we have Dr. Lermenstein, or in this case, a Dr. Brawlenstein. This is the Mean Baby Hero mech. Really nice high mounts for MRMs. Destroys with MRMs, by the way. And you could also add 6 small lasers on top of that, which is the equivalent of 1.5 AC20s. So you can make an insane mech with this. You can of course run it in a Lerm configuration. You can run it with MRMs, you can run it with SRMs. One build I like to do is Dr. Brawlenstein, which is 4 medium lasers and 6 medium lasers and 4 SRM6 Artemis. Doesn't sound like much, but it is an 81 Alpha Strike, and this thing just keeps shooting. It doesn't run hot, so you can run like 4 or 5 Alpha Strikes before you need to cool down. This thing will brawl down anything in its path. Moving on, it is time to talk about the Atlases, and we're starting with the Atlas Kraken. The Metal Savior, complete with Crown of Thorns to pay for the sins of all the pepegas and potatoes in the game, and some wings and an axe, and yeah, it's really nice. Got a couple of energy hardpoints, but the most important hardpoints in here are 1 ballistic and 2 missile. It just makes it predestined for heavy Gauss and double MRM30. Runs it very well. Quite fast as well, 50 kph for an Insphere assault mech that is quote-unquote fast. And you can top it up with some AMS, or you could go ahead and run it with, I don't know, so many different options, Gauss Rifle or AC20, medium lasers. Lots of things you can do. Moving on to the Atlas DF. Well, the Atlas D, everybody can get that. The F is the Founders Edition Atlas. This is one of the first mechs in the game ever. This is my Santa edition. Creepy Santa edition. And we were running this thing with MRM30, MRM40, and a heavy Gauss rifle. So MRM70, AMS, heavy Gauss. It can basically run the same builds that the Atlas Kraken can run. It does have an additional ballistic slot, so if you wanted to, you could actually do something like 2 Rack 5s and then MRM40 on the other side torso. Moving on to my next newest addition, but also already favorite. I call it Günther. This is our, of course, trusted ECM Atlas, currently with the weird build that Rafa gave us, 2 large pulses, 2 light Gauss, MRM40. But we did ERPPC and light Gauss with it, we did Gauss rifle and large lasers with it. We did heavy Gauss, MRM40 for medium lasers, so many things you can do, ECM and jump jets. This is the defining stuff about the Atlas K3. Really good mech. You can't get it anymore if you don't have it right already, because that was part of this year's loyalty rewards. Moving on, oldie but goldie, the Atlas DC. This thing has been around since the start of the game, and since they buffed the Atlas armor on all different models, this is a highly recommended mech now. As hardpoints are concerned, you got 2 ballistic, 2 energy, and 3 missiles, so I wouldn't recommend going sniper build with this because you've got 1 hardpoint in each arm, so heavy Gauss, MRM60, ECM would work very well, or you could do something like 2 light Gauss, MRM60, ECM, AMS. You could also do a brawler with this, of course. You've got 3 missile hardpoints, so 3 SRM Artemis, AC20, that would be the classic build for it. Definitely works very well. It's a fun mech to play, and the ECM keeps it very, very safe. And then last but not least, one of the new favorites on this list because of the changes to the Atlas lately, the Boar's Head. This thing, as you know, can run 6 lasers, 3 in each arm, or 6 energy hardpoints. So you can do weird things with this, like 6 large pulse lasers. Or you could run it relatively speaking forward, 6 medium lasers, Gauss rifle, MRM40, for a nice 85 Alpha. Of course, you only have 1 missile hardpoint and 1 ballistic hardpoint, so that limits you a little bit here, but we've also done weird things like 6 ER large lasers. Works quite well. So Atlas Boar's Head, for those energy enthusiasts who want to play on Atlas, highly recommended. Moving on to the Awesomes. There's 2 models I like. There's the Awesome 8Q. That one has PPC, family hit skill limit +1. So you could shoot 4 snub-nosed PPCs at the same time, or you could shoot 3 heavy PPCs at the same time. Like in this case, for example, 3 heavy PPCs, 4 medium lasers, and a targeting computer. Or you could do 3 ER PPCs. There's really no limit to what you can do with this in terms of PPCs. It's still an awesome, it's still got all the weird hardpoint issues, of course, but it's definitely a fun mech to play. This is, by the way, the PC Gamer paint job. I don't think you can get this anymore. It was good. Moving on, Awesome 8R. This thing is heavily quirked for LRMs. This is one of the best Innosphere Learn boats. You throw a tag on there, you throw 4 LRM-15s on there, and you just make it rain with an XL300 engine. A TTB, what about backup weapons? Fuck backup weapons, you don't need them. You have teammates, you don't need backup weapons, you've got teammates. But what if my teammates are dead? Well, then you're most likely going to die as well. Don't do what ifs, guys. Make a good plan A. Moving on to the Banshees. Ah, so many nice Banshees. I had to choose 2. I chose the Banshee 3M and the Banshee 3S. Banshee 3M, this is the classic Banshee that you would run since the days it was introduced. It used to have all its hard points up here, which was amazing. Then they afterwards changed it to make it a little bit less good, I guess, because we can't have fun in this game. So they moved some hard points down low, but that's okay. We're using 2 small lasers right here to help elevate some of the weapons, but it doesn't really work as much anymore. We've got 3 large pulse lasers here and 2 large pulse lasers right here, for a total of 5 LPL. XL380 engine in this one, because the Banshee is a very safe mech to XL. You've got big arms to shield with, and people mostly hit the CT. Banshee 3S, the Orc Warboss. You can do lots of builds with this. One of my favorites is the 6 large pulse laser build. In this case, I was experimenting a little bit. This is a 91 Alpha, heavy Gauss rifle, MRM-40, and 7 small lasers. Once again, 7 small lasers, guys. That is about the firepower of, I want to say, 2 AC-20s, almost. Basically, yes, because they recycle twice as fast as an AC-20. So I would say this is 2 AC-20s worth of firepower, just in small lasers, and they basically generate 0 heat. So for a 1v1 situation against another assault mech, this thing is brutal. This thing is absolutely brutal. I love it. Of course, you can do other builds. You can do large lasers and Gauss. That's also definitely playable. You can do super big laser boats. You could do 4 large lasers, 4 ER mediums, and maybe a normal Gauss rifle. There's really no limit to what you can do with a Banshee. And of course, you can slap an AMS on that to be a little bit more helpful for your teammates. Then moving on to the Battle Masters, my first signature mechs back when I started out doing Mechwarrior Online videos again. We've got this gentleman right here. This is the Blarg 1G. That thing has, I mean, the Battle Masters all in all have really nice hard points. That is the defining ability of a Battle Master. This thing is running a light 350 engine, 5 ER large lasers on the targeting computer. And the interesting thing about this is that you can shoot this Alpha Strike without overheating. So that makes it really, really nice for comp play or for faction play. But you can also use it to great effect on longer range maps in quick play. You just need a couple of teammates to keep the enemies from running to you and eating your little mech hiney. Of course, here showcasing the Buccaneer paint job that says "Slow Ride" on the back. You can run this with 6 ER larges. We've done it a lot. It is also fun. You have to run it with an XL engine though. But Battle Master is also relatively safe, I would say, to XL. Moving on to the Fox. Hans Devians, a little mech here. This one, I'm running it with 5 large pulse lasers. You could also do a 3 large pulse laser, 4 ER medium or 4 medium laser build. But yeah, I really like to run this with 5 large pulse lasers. Once again, this is what the Banshee used to be in terms of like super high mounts. You have to run it with an XL engine, otherwise you can't fit everything. But since you're using an XL350, this thing runs 66 kph as an Innosphere 85 tonner. Fun mech to play. Beautiful mech. Not enough people play Battle Masters these days. This even has my old paint of the TTP on the back. Yeah. I'm not going to change that. I'll leave that N as is condition. Moving on to the Blood Asps. What do we have here? The Blood Asp Delta. Ah, yes, okay. Well, actually, is this the right mech? I don't think this is the right mech. You need to have a different CT right here. Because there's a Blood Asp CT that has the has ECM, but the loadout basically is sound, which is 3 Ultra AC5s and an Ultra AC10. Really, really nice build. Does a lot of damage. Nice high mounts. As you can see, you only have to expose that much of your mech to be able to get your full firepower into target. So, Blood Asp, always good to play. Of course, you could always look at the Rancor if you want to run ATMs or whatnot. Got this nice little video where we do medium pulses and 2 ATM 12s, and we do like 1200 damage in under a minute or so. It's kind of insane. Or 2 minutes. It was 2 minutes, I think. Moving on from the Blood Asps. By the way, there's also interesting Blood Asps. So, for example, you can do like a with the new mech pack that's gonna hit, you can do like a 2-side torso 4 PPC Blood Asp. It's gonna be super nice. Looking forward to playing that. Moving on to the Chargers. The Chargers are actually surprisingly good, especially the one that can run MRM 60, I believe, and an Ultra 8020 in the other side torso. Really nice to play. But I want to highlight the Charger number 7 hero mech. A, it's got one of the most unique paint jobs in the game, and B, it's got a ton of structure. So this mech is super tanky, and also very safe to run with an XL engine. In this case, running 4 large lasers and 2 medium lasers. The problem with the Charger number 7 is always that it's under-weaponized for its tonnage. Because 4 large lasers and 2 medium lasers, you could run it on a lot lighter mechs. So, of course, you could turn down and use, I don't know, large pulses on this thing, but I think it's more of a fun factor for me with this mech than anything else of when I like it. And again, it's super tanky and it can jump. That was also one of the really defining factors. This thing can jump 45 meters in an assault mech. You don't see that very often, especially not on the inner sphere side. So before they fixed jump jets and whatnot, or improved jump jets, this was my go-to jumpy mech. Moving on to the Orky mechs, Corsairs. I had to select 2. I selected the Corsair 5T and the 7A. The 5T, you guys know this from most of the videos where I just unzip my pants, let it ride free, and just charge it at the enemy with triple rack 2s and an AC2, triple AC2s, plus AMS on top of that. That's really, really nice pinpoint damage, and it will beat your enemies into submission. Plus, of course, it's a Corsair, so it's fairly tanky, so you can have a lot of fun with this thing. The only thing that it has is a little bit slow at 47 kph, because we have to use a light 275 engine to fit everything. Moving on to Operation Iron Dome. Most of you people already know this thing. You can do a lot of builds with this. The most important thing is if you play the Corsair 7A, if you don't use 4 AMS, you have to go into a corner and sit down on the naughty stool or the stool of shame, because this is the mech that basically demands you put 4 AMS on it. That's the defining factor. This is Iron Dome. This is the anti-air, anti-missile system for your team. So 4 AMS is a must. If you don't put it on there, I don't want to see you on my channel anymore. On top of that, what weapons do you run? Well, you can do 2 ERPPCs and 2 like Gauss and turn this into a long-range pinpoint sniper. You can run medium lasers and racks. You can run ER mediums and racks. You can run double Ultra AC10s, for example. You could run 2 rack 5s. You could run 3 rack 2s. Lots of options. The only thing it can't run is missiles. Really nice mech. Great for match score farming. If it flies, it dies. This is what keeps your team safe against all those Lerm skill lords that never learned how to shoot straight at a mech. I still like you Lerm players. As long as you obey the couple of commandments for Lerms, that is, stay with your teammates, try to Lerm close range, 300, 400 meters, and share your armor. And then you're fine. Moving on to the Cyclopses, we've got 2 right here, the 10Q and the S for Sleipnir. The 10Q, that is your missile boat Cyclops. Rock you with my MRM. If that song comes to mind, then you've watched my older videos from like 4 years ago. You can run it with MRM 120, for example. You can run it with a lot of SRM6 and Artemis. So 6 SRM6 Artemis and 1 SRM4 Artemis. Really nice brawler build. You can run it with Streaks even. We've done Streak 6s, which was a lot of fun. Good old Streak boat. Killing all those piranhas. So it's just a great missile mech. You can't really run anything else, but with missiles, this is a fun mech to use. I love this one. Moving on to one of the best mechs in the game by far, Cyclops Sleipnir. Everybody knows the classic 4 LB10 build. This is kind of a different one. This is rack 5s and LB10s. You can run Ultra AC10s and Rag 2s. So many options, just maximum DACA, and you're gonna have some fun with this. Cyclops Sniper is definitely one of the best mechs in the game. You can also run double heavy Gauss and some lasers. Sure, why not? Moving on to the Dire Whales. We've got the Mobile Oppression Palace right here, which has a different loadout than what it normally would run. I think this one is from Rotvar. 4 SRM6, Ultra AC20, and 2 Ultra AC10s for an Alpha Strike total of 128 damage, because you can double tap those Ultra Autocannons. So it's a brutal close range fighter that also does some good damage at 400 meters or so. But normally speaking, Ultraviolet, the main strength of the Ultraviolet is holding down extreme long range at 1500 meters or so with 8 AC2s. Some people like to run it with 8 LB2s, but at 1500 meters, you're gonna hit left foot and right side torso. So it's just not accurate enough. So I recommend just run with AC2. You can run Ultra AC2, but it gets too hot. So AC2, this is the way. Moving on to the Direwolf Charlie, the one introduced with the, what was it, Hunter Pack? It's got ECM in the CT, which is really, really nice. And you can run this with a variety of builds. We've already done a lot of them, and there will be more on YouTube as well. This current one has 6 large pulse lasers, but I mean, let's see, how many builds do we have for this thing? A lot. So you can run 4 LB10, 8 ER micros. You can run 2 UAC 10, 3 UAC 5. You can run large pulse laser Gauss. You can run 8 large lasers. You can run 6 large pulses. You can run the Party Wolf, which I won't reveal right now because that's gonna be a big video. The party box. That's gonna be nice. But yeah, there's so many builds you can do. Direwolf, Charlie, highly recommended. Get that Hunter Pack. It is 100% worth it. You also get the ECM Timberwolf on top of that. So good pack. Get it. Moving on to the Executioners. I wanna just highlight the Prime right here. You just run it with 2 PPCs and a lot of small pulses and ER micros. Really solid build. More of a knife fighter, but with the ER PPCs, you can feel relevant in all aspects of the game, and the closer you get to your targets, the more damage you do. Plus, it has, of course, the ability to use Mask, which gets this thing close up to, like, what, 90 kph for quick sprints, which is really nice for a clan assault. Then, moving on, we have the Fafnirs. Do I have to say anything about this mech? I don't think so. I think the only thing I have to do is press a button right now. I don't have to say more, do I? Say more? Okay, well, this is a Chadoken build. You guys have seen the videos, but the Fafnir 5 Bravo can do a lot more things than that. It's mostly known for double heavy Gauss and then 5 ER mediums or 5 medium lasers or even 5 medium pulse lasers. But it can run a variety of ballistic and energy builds. You could also run it with Rag 5s and some energy or whatnot, but I would say you want to go for pinpoint high damage, and that, for me personally, the best build, I think, aside from the Chadoken, which is a little bit meme but also very serious, is just to run double heavy Gauss and then lasers. That just makes it really good. Moving on to the classic Fafnir, the classic Dr. Fafnir. Fafnir 5, right now it's running a 4 light Gauss rifle build with ECM. Oh, by the way, the Chadoken 5 Bravo, of course, also with ECM. With the Fafnir 5, double UAC 5, double UAC 10, that is the go-to build. It's super strong, can run a little bit hot over time, but it's super strong. You get the ECM to keep you safe, and you have these nice double taps at 500 meters. Such a good build. You can run 4 LB10 on this thing. We did, in this mech with this paint scheme, we did 2200 damage in quick play. And several 1800 plus or 1700 plus matches. 4 LB10, super solid, really good. And of course you can also run all the other combinations as well. You can run UAC 10s and Rag 2s and whatever. Just lots of DACA. Really, really good mech. And super nice high hard points that are close together, which makes this, which also helps with your accuracy, of course. Moving on to the Fafnir Wrath Hero mech. Number 1, it's got one of the most gorgeous paint jobs in all of the game. I mean, come on. Come on! This is one of the best paint jobs in the game. 100%, hands down. I love the metallic colors. It's just amazing. But what's even more amazing is that this thing can run a variety of builds. It can run MRM 120, I believe, if I'm not 100% mistaken. I might be wrong here. Okay, yes, it can run MRM 120 if you want to, which is very strong. Or you could run it in any kind of like combination with Gauss rifles, with autocannons and whatnot. Autocannon 20, for example, here possible. But for me, one build that I found that is kind of ridiculous and one of my first like super high damage alpha mechs is this one. Double MRM30s, heavy Gauss rifle, 5 medium lasers. That is a 110 damage alpha strike. 0 ghost heat. It hits like a truck. If you come close to this thing, if you're not an Atlas, you're gone with one shot. If you're not an assault mech, you're gone with one shot. So yeah, you can really bring down the wrath of Khan with this. Khan! Moving on to the Gargoyle, Kinwolf. I mean, there's other gargoyles out there that can run more weapons, but I like the Kinwolf because it has this gorgeous, like, blue, glittery paint job on it. And, of course, you get the extra 30% C-build bonus. This build right now is like a mixed long-range, close-range build, 2 large pulses and 11 ER micros. So you just keep shooting the large pulses like a crazed madman and until you get into close range and then you start knife fighting. You could also run this with small pulses and ER micros. We've done that in the past. Knife Fighter Gargoyle was a lot of fun, but you have to get very close, and it's in the current meta, it's kind of super hard to do that. But yeah, definitely a fun mech. Then moving on to what I believe was the first hero mech in the game, the Highlander Heavy Metal. Now this thing runs very well with a combination of, let's say, a Gauss rifle and 2 MRM30s. Does a lot of damage, and the Highlanders, and that's little known fact, the Highlanders are super tanky. At 90 tons, this thing is almost as tanky as an Atlas. So never underestimate the Highlanders. And of course being a Highlander, it has jump jets. So I think, of course, you can do other builds right now. This one has like light PPC, UAC-10, MRM40 as more of an experimental build. But you could do large pulses on this, MRMs and whatnot. But I think Gauss and double MRM30 is probably the strongest build damage-wise that you can build on this thing. And of course, you can use it with jump jets, and it even says heavy metal right on the gun. Moving on to the Highlander 2Cs, I really enjoy the Highlander 2C Alpha. The Keeper is also not a bad mech, but the Alpha with the heat skill limit +1 quirk for ERPPCs is kind of nice. So you can run it with 3 ERPPCs, or you can run a slightly hotter build with 4 ERPPCs, where you can then choose to just shoot an Alpha of 3 at the same time, or shoot them 2 and 2, depending on if your target, for example, is standing still, you want to send a higher damage Alpha. So really nice mech. Of course, can also jump jet. We've done 1200, 1300 plus several times in this. Fun mech to play. Then there are the King Crabs. And I just realized there's a mech missing. Give me a second while I correct this mistake. We're missing one important King Crab. It has become a favorite. Since last time I checked. That's that one. Moving back to the favorites. So, King Crab 000 in the loyalty variant from back then, with the knots and the angels and whatnot. Just skull here on the leg. One of the most beautiful paint jobs they ever did. This one is currently running triple AC2, triple Rack 2. You can also run 6 AC2, 6 LB2. You can also run missiles on this thing if you want to. Like you can run double MRM30s, for example, and then some Daka. Sure, why the hell not? King Crabs are generally super big and sometimes hard to make use, especially with the hard points being a little bit weird sometimes, but fun to play. So give the King Crab a chance. You can get 000 right now. You can't get the loyalty variant anymore, but they have the same loadouts as the normal 000. Moving on to the King Crab Kaiju. Now this thing, it's looking at you. It's looking straight into your soul. You can do a lot of builds. I've released a couple of them lately with small lasers and heavy Gauss and MRMs and whatnot. You can do 3 large pulse lasers. You can do 4 large lasers. Pop in a couple of medium lasers on top of that, plus heavy Gauss. You can do some extra Daka. You can do 2 light PPCs, 2 light Gauss rifles, I mean, up top here, plus 3 ERPPCs. Which is kind of ridiculous, because you can shoot this at the same time. And it does a lot of damage. It's a 50 damage alpha, because it has a heat skill limit +1 quirk somewhere, if I can find it. ERPPC heat skill limit +1, there we go. So this thing is a 50 alpha. just as much as the Marauder 4L. A little bit one-sided and without jump jets though. But yeah, Kaiju, you can do a lot of builds. Fun mech to play. Don't see it very often, but it's definitely a fun mech to play. Moving on to the bears. There are two that we need to talk about. First is the Spirit Bear. This is one of the all-time favorites as far as clan assaults are concerned. Fell out of grace a little bit with the engine desync. Could use a little bit more mobility, but yeah, I think the most known build on this one is LB20 and 4 SRM6 Artemis. And then, of course, you got the XL400 engine in there for 64 kph of speed, plus the mask booster gets the thing up to almost 90 kph. You run in, you charge in, you shoot your targets, you murder everything. Close range, nice brawler. Suffers a lot though, because it's not as agile in the torso anymore in twisting. It was not easy to play beforehand. But yeah, unfortunately the game changed in a way that made it a lot easier for pinpoint front-loaded damage and sniping, and not as fun anymore for brawling. You can also do other builds with this. I've seen people run Learn Bolts on this. I don't highly recommend it, but you can do medium pulses on there. We've also done a Spirit Bear build where we run a full complement, LB20 and SRMs, and then had 2 PPCs on top of that. You can do a lot of things with this, but the main point of this mech is to charge in and just do a lot of damage, make a huge mess. Moving on to the classic Kodiak Dakar variant, the Kodiak 3. This thing was the original, the OG Dakar boat. 2 UAC 10, 2 UAC 5, of course, still a very, very good build. Super nice high mounts, as you can see. Or you can do something a little bit more creative, like this 50 damage alpha. 4 AC-10s and an ERPPC. Ghost Seed is not a problem, 4 AC-10s is not that hot. You just shred targets with this. This is 50 damage alpha, hits like a truck. And at 58 kph from an XL360, you're also relatively fast. And look at this beautiful can wolf paint scheme, by the way. It's nice. Okay, moving on to the Mad Cats. This is the thing that usurped the place of the Kodiak for Clan Dakar. Mad Cat Bravo, a little bit faster, a little bit less armored, and of course the arms are a little bit flimsy, but super nice high Dakar arms that can be freely moved, which makes this superior for Dakaring. You can also run this with other weapon systems, of course, but the most known build is 2 UAC 5, 2 UAC 10s. But we've also done some Brawly builds or ATM focused builds on Mad Cats, not on the Bravo specifically. But yeah, great mech. If you like Dakar, Mad Cat Bravo, you won't regret it. The Mad Cat Death Strike, also a very strong mech. You can do it with Ultra AC-10s and PPCs, for example, or you run 2 Gauss rifles, and then you can run large lasers or ER mediums. It really depends on what you want to do right now and what your preferred range is. If your preferred range is more like 500 meters or so, go ER mediums. If it's longer than that, maybe go ER larges. Nice mech. It's very hard, pinpoint. Does a lot of damage. And can also jump. Mad Cat Death Strike, definitely recommend it. Then this used to be a mech that I used to play a lot for fun, but has fallen out of grace lately because of all the sniping and not so much close range fighting. This is the Raid Boss, Marauder 4 HP. You can run this with SRM, Artemis, really strong brawler. You can run this with MRMs, of course, also super strong. Or you can run this with all streaks and be the nightmare of any light mech that comes within 300 meters. Because this thing is just going to eat light mechs for breakfast. If you're in the open and a light mech against this thing, your life expectancy is 5 seconds. It goes flunk, 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 and you're dead. Undodgeable. Just streak Lord galore. 110 firepower. All streaks. I even included in later versions, I included a light PPC to deal with light mechs that use stealth. Because light PPC will break that stealth. So yeah, fun mech, but not as effective anymore in the current meta. What is really effective in the current meta though is the Marauder 4L. This is the only mech right now, to my knowledge, that can use double Gauss Rifle and double ERPPC without any Ghost Heat. It has some convergence issues, as you can see. You've got the weapons up here, you've got the Gauss Rifle spread far apart and fairly low. So convergence is a challenge on targets that are moving left to right or right to left. But yeah, it's got ECM, it's got jump jets, it's an Inner Sphere 100 tonner, and it's a lot of fun to play. Highly recommended, Marauder 4L. And we've got the Marauder 4A. This thing also has an interesting quirk. It has a heat skill limit +1 for large lasers. I won't talk about this anymore because this is also going to be a special video, but let's just say this is your vampire hunter. Because the light, it burns! Beautiful mech. You can run a lot of builds on this. It used to have a quirk for, I believe, heavy PPC +1, but they removed that for some reason. Probably because it was just too hot, and turned it into a Innosphere large laser, heat skill limit +1, and that feels a lot better. Great mech to play. Moving on to the clan side of the Marauder Assaults, the Marauder 2Cs. I enjoy the 2, the loyalty variant, because A, it has this insanely beautiful paint job, and B, it can fly. So you can do something like, I don't know, 6 ER large lasers, or you can do 4 PPCs and just snipe at the enemy, and use your jump jets to get at high spots. And with an XL 300 plus engine, you're also quite fast for an assault mech, so getting into positions is not a problem. Or you can just do like something like large pulses, ER mediums, whatnot. Turn it into a different version of a Eben Jag, basically. That is very fast and very tanky. I'll leave it up to you. For me, it's mostly about the jump jets. The Scorch needs to be in here though. That is the Marauder 2C hero mech. That thing everybody knows. You can run it with 2 LB20s and then 4 SM4s or 4 SM6s. Does a lot of damage, insane brawler, super dangerous close range, a lot of fun to play. It also be played with ATMs, by the way, to some really good results. So definitely good recommendation for any mech stable. Moving on to the Maulers, let's talk about 2 here. We talk about the Mauler 2P. First, that thing, mostly I use that thing for double heavy Gauss and 6 medium lasers. It's like a truck. But, I mean, it's a Mauler, it's fairly big. You can see that you have to expose quite a lot of your mech to get the weapons into targets. So, in the current meta, not as easy to play. This is a build we've been toying around with a little bit. That's UAC 20, UAC 10, and 6 medium lasers. Doesn't have ghost heat. The double tap damage is 90, and it has reduced heat now as a quirk for your UX, so that also comes in handy. Mauler MX90, now that is an oldie but goldie. You can do a lot of builds on this. For UAC 5, it used to be the Mauler of love, by the way. For UAC 5 is a thing. You can do 6 AC2, you can do 6 LB2. Do lots of different builds in this thing. 90 tons in a sphere. Literally, the sky is the limit. It's a fun mech to play. Has all its Dakar right here, that central spot, so it's also nicely lined up. A lot of fun to play. You don't see many out of there anymore because other Dakar mechs are just just better. But has still a special place in my heart for this thing. Then we've got the Nightstar 10P, that is a new favorite. I was kind of skeptical at first, but the ability to run 4 Rack 2s without Ghost Heat is very, very nice. Only on this mech though, this is the only mech that can run 4 Rack 2s without Ghost Heat. You don't really need to put any other weapons on there. You've got ECM to keep you safe, Light Engine, you are running 56 kph, and you're just Raka-Dakaing along like a crazed madman. This is a classic suppression mech. You can suppress your enemies quite a bit in that one. 4 Rack 2, by the way, is the only build I would run on this. Of course, you could do something like 2 UAC 10s, 2 UAC 5s. That would also work on this mech, but be aware, like you see where you're shooting from, right? This thing is so fat it doesn't even fit on this tiny part of the screen. So convergence, of course, is always going to be an issue. And if I was a PGI engineer, I would just take away this part of the arm and put the arms like way closer to the center, because this thing is just too wide. Alright, moving on to the Stalkers. Stalker 3FB, that is the Stalker that can run ECM, and we were running this with MRM60 and 6 medium lasers. It runs hot, but it does a lot of damage, a lot of fun to play. I really like ECM mechs in general, so the Stalker 3FB is a great Stalker if you want to pick up a Stalker. If you're not looking to do that, then of course maybe have a look at the Stalker 7 Delta. It doesn't come with ECM, that's one of the newer mechs as well, and it just has the ability to run a lot of different energy builds. We've run large pulses on this, we've run ER larges on this, we've run double MRM30s and 9 small lasers. Doesn't sound like much, but double 30s and 9 small lasers is a killer. 9 small lasers is more than 2 AC20s worth of firepower. Over time, it's insane. Don't underestimate small lasers. So yeah, this mech, A lot of fun. You can also run AMS to keep yourself a little bit safer against LRMs. Highly recommended. Part of one of the mech packs that was released 2 months ago, I believe. Then, moving on to the Victor. Right here, I would say my favorite one is the loyalty variant, the 9A1. That thing, you can run it with 38010s, you can run it with UX 10s and the UX 5. You can run it with double heavy Gauss. Just a nice, agile mech that can twist and shoot and twist and shoot and twist and shoot and twist and shoot. There's nothing else to say. Fun to play. And the last mech on the list for the Warhammer 2Cs. There's lots of variants that you can choose and that you can play. I'm just gonna put the dirty mech in here, the Warhammer 2C2. You can run it with ATMs, you can run it with streaks, but of course it's mostly known for LRM 95. This is the best clan LRM mech in my opinion. You can run LRM 95 on this at almost 70 kph speed with attack. What about backup weapons? You don't need backup weapons. You're a monster learn boat. Your teammates are your backup. Stay with your mates, you got enough speed, you got enough armor to trade with the enemy, and you just keep constantly shooting out those lurms. It can be very glorious, or very sad, depending on what kind of teammates you get, and what kind of map you get. But yeah, that concludes the list of favorite assault mechs. Wow, I did that as short as possible. Hopefully there were some ideas for you in there and what mechs to buy. And of course, if you're wondering which hero mechs to buy, I will just direct you to the video I made on the shopping guide for hero mechs. I'm gonna link it in the video description below. If the video was helpful to you guys, hit the thumbs up button. It really helps to make other people aware of the video, and it helps just boosting it up in the algorithm a little bit. And if you want to support me in doing this full time and to keep doing this full time, check the links in the video description below. This has been TTV's favorite assault mechs. If you're looking for the other favorite assault mechs, not favorite assault mechs, heavies, mediums, and lights, it's also going to be in the video description below, as well as the general list to all of my guide videos on how to play the game and get better at the game. That's it. I'm done. Have a great day, guys.